anybody die?
No one died. But
I mean, somebody died.
no.
But no one we know at this moment has died.
Anna,
we're glad to report.
All right, so let me just tell a story.
Oh God.
Because there was some jackass. My mom got very upset the other day because she was reading she goes, Vinnie, I was reading the Facebook and a guy was telling me he really loves you, but he's heard all of your stories. Okay, whoever you are, dude, sit back. Because you haven't heard this story.
Has he though? Does he get that claim? Does he get to claim that?
He's heard all of my stories. Well, guess what?
I think that there would be somebody else in front of him who could claim that first.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah. I think there's a woman on the other mic who may take claim to hearing all of my stories. And Anna, if you've heard this story, stop me and I will stop.
Okay.
Okay. By the way, Anna and I will clear up fat versus protein today. What else are we clearing up, Anna?
Well, that's the main thing.
Yeah, fat versus protein.
Depending on how long the story is, you're going to tell whether or not I cut you off.
We got time.
I'm sure. I would hope you would remember when you've told me stories. Are you one of those guys who you just tell the same story over and over again to people, or do you remember?
No, but I think on a podcast, there's certain stories that pop up over and over because we talk around the same subject and what have you. So,
of course.
But look, I'm not doing this for this guy's benefit. This has been on my mind. I've been a little not on the planet for the past 2 days.
Okay.
And I've been aware of this day coming for a long time. When I was dating in my 40s in LA, women would say to me, "Oh, you've never been married?" No. You're damaged goods. You're afraid of commitment. I would hear this all the time. Women have this thing that if you make it to a certain age and you're not married, there's got to be something. You're the problem, right? And as I would always say, no, I just never made a mistake in that realm. I've made other mistakes, but the way you get to, well, I met Serena when I was 45 or thereabouts, 44, somewhere after cancer. And even Serena had questions. All of her friends, oh my God, this guy's no bag. It's like, no, I have baggage.
We all have baggage.
You don't get to that age without baggage. Hang around long enough, you'll find the baggage.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you get to 45? Well, I had a long-term relationship with people who know me from New Orleans with the 6 o'clock news anchor woman, Lynn Ganser. We've talked about her on the show. So, hey, guy who hates all of my stories you've heard before, you've heard that story before. Long-term relationship with her, but it went, 4 or 5 years. And at some point, I met this woman and she was older than me. She was much older than me, but it didn't really show when I'm in my mid-20s and she's in her mid to late 30s. It doesn't show that much, right? Like we don't look like an odd couple out, especially because she was very much in shape. Like she was the aerobic queen, in shape, watched everything she ate, didn't have an ounce of fat, and, came from Russian Jewish background and blonde hair, blue eye, just gorgeous woman. She was, she is gorgeous physically to my eyes, and she was gorgeous inside. We had a good relationship. As a matter of fact, without mentioning her name, Nancy Wolfson, our mutual friend, knows this woman. If Nancy hears this show, she'll know exactly who we're talking about. I met her in New Orleans. We had an on again, off again kind of torrid love for each other. A lot of the problem was, can we, of course, at that age, the sex is great. If the sex is not great at that age, it's never going to be great. But we couldn't stand to not be around. Whenever we would break up and she had a date, I would be jealous and I'm not the jealous type. And if I had a date, she would be over the top jealous, and we would end up at each other's house at the end of the day. It was just crazy. And then when I moved to LA, it kind of fizzled out. But she had always wanted to move to LA, and she moved to LA. And without knowing where I lived, because I moved a lot in those first couple of years, we ended up in the whole city of LA living about a block apart. I'll tell you where we lived, Anna. I lived on Doheny, right across from what was called Chasen's back then. And that became Bristol Farms.
Yep.
She lived on Alden, right around the corner. And we ran into each other. This is kind of before Starbucks was a thing. We ran into each other at a coffee shop and couldn't believe we were looking at each other. And I said, "How long are you in town for?" And she's like, "Oh, I moved here." It didn't take long for us to slam ourselves back together. And I'm not being, sexual here or anything. We couldn't be apart.
Right.
We went through a relationship for a gazillion years. And one day, out of the blue, while we were eating dinner one night, we were living together at some point. We moved in together. She said, "I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. Take some time, figure out where you're going to live, move out."
Whoa. Were you blindsided? Like it was just completely out of the blue?
Yeah.
Had she met somebody else?
I asked that. It turns out she didn't.
Wow.
That's when I moved in to the guest house at the Hargitays, Mariska Hargitay's dad's house.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Hargitay. They took me in up there.
Yeah.
And they had a nice guest house, and that's where I moved to. And we would see each other from time to time. And it was one of those things that when we saw each other, we couldn't, it was just this animal kind of craziness for years, until one day I said, "You know what? The next time I see her, we can't do this. I can't, I will never move on unless I move on." So I moved on, and she moved on. She never got married. Again, she was married before. She's got 2 beautiful kids.
Mm-hmm.
And stayed in touch with her over the years. She moved to this state and that state. We always kept in touch. She had serious relationships. I was always happy for her. Once I was able to move on, I was very happy for her. And when I met Serena, she was very happy for me. About 10 years ago, she says, "I'm in LA. I'd like to meet with you." And I said, "Okay." We went to, I want to say, Kings Road Cafe. You know where Kings Road is,
Yep.
right?
Down on Hollywood Boulevard or Beverly Boulevard?
Yeah, it's in Beverly. It's right near La Cienega. That used to be,
Yeah.
that's the best coffee in town.
Yeah.
And we met there and we had lunch like we had done so many times before. And she told me that she had Parkinson's.
Oh.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, are you on drugs yet? Because you're not shaking. I'm not seeing any of the," and I mean, that disease, it just degenerates and degenerates. I mean, you just keep going down and down and down and down. About right before we left LA, she called me one day. We would talk after she got Parkinson's. I made it a point to call her once every 6 or 8 months just to check in, say hi. She was always upbeat, still going exercise, taking more and more medication. Matter of fact, one time when I was driving, because she moved to Scottsdale, one day I was driving through, I got off the beaten path and went up to Scottsdale just to see her, see if she, I wanted to physically see her.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew I was coming, and I think she took extra medication or something that day, but she was shaking, and she couldn't, the trembles and the whole deal, but doing her best to hide it.
Yeah.
And we had a wonderful chat, and on and on. Life continues. She called me right before we moved from LA, just out of the blue one day. And she said to me, I can tell her voice was getting weaker back then. And she said to me, she said, I have something to tell you. And I was like, okay. She goes, I've never given you a reason as to why I had to leave. And I said, no, you haven't. I just always assumed it was because I was never going to have a lot of money, and I was never going to be able to support you, because she came from money. Her ex-husband had money, and you marry the nice guy, that money trains. That, in my mind, it was something like that. And she said it had nothing to do with money. I said, well, what did it have to do with? She said, you were always angry. You were always an angry person. That broke my heart. But she wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong at all. I was going through a lot in LA in those first years when I got there. I loosely tell the stories, right? Okay, guy who heard all my stories. I loosely tell the stories of going to Disney and going to, but Anna, when you put together and do a whole presentation and you go in and do the dog and pony, we like to call it, and they laugh you out of the room, you leave a piece of your soul.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. You leave a piece of your soul. And man, I did that for years and years and years. And I would come home and I would just sulk. I was just mad at the world. I would never get mad at her. I was just, you could feel the anger coming. You could feel the heat coming off of me. Feel the heat.
Yep.
Right. And I never gave up. I kept going into Guthrie Ranker and all these different, infomercial companies and pitching these ideas and getting told that I have a great idea, but they would never use me in the ad because I sound like an idiot, pretty much. I have a speech impediment and I have issues. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? I got 3 documentaries out there and my book on Audible was up for Book of the Year. So fuck you. Did all that with a speech impediment. Podcasting with Anna Ficino for 2,000 plus episodes. Screw you.
And what are the number of times I've made fun of your speech impediment?
I don't know. Never.
Never.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
I'm sure that you and your husband sit around and
we have better things to do.
Yeah. But,
no, but I'm serious. Like, it doesn't matter. That's why it's so funny that people look for those kind of excuses. It's like, I don't know. Maybe sometimes I feel like we're all a little bit ahead of our time.
Yeah.
And obviously in this day and age, it would not be kosher, to say the least, to reject someone for a speech impediment.
No, now you'll get the job because of the speech impediment. Right. I'm not being funny. That's a fact.
Well, because you stand out. It's something different.
Yeah. But back then they wanted everyone to be Midwest Johnny Carson sounding,
Yeah.
Different day. And I'm not that guy. But man, she took the brunt of it until she couldn't take it anymore.
Mm.
And it made sense when she told me that, because I was going, yeah, that's why we kept getting together. When we weren't living together, it was easier to get together, right? We still enjoyed each other, and it wasn't just sex, Anna. It was.
I understand.
Sometimes we would be out on a date and she's laughing until she's turning purple and I'm having a great time and the whole thing. And I would drive home that night up Sunset Plaza to the top to Mickey Hargitay's house going, why can't I make that work? Why is that not working? Well, why did we have to break up? Like I couldn't figure it out, but she gave me that closure right before I left.
That's good. Can I just interject for 1 second? Because I know that you're going to continue going with this.
Yeah.
I have found over the years my observation from being married for 23 years is that he or she who has the dominant emotional state usually sets the tone. And it doesn't matter if it's correct or incorrect. There's nothing correct or incorrect about emotions. But if you're coming home and you are obliterated emotionally from the things you've been trying to do during the day and unable to process that and fixed in where you are, it's generally really, it's easier for the other person to kind of join you there. You know what I mean? And it's so I've noticed, because by the way, when you have two very creative people in a relationship, when that happens at the same time, or one's having it and the other's not, and vice versa, it's a very interesting thing. Like, it's usually, but if also too, the flip side of that is if you're flying high and you're pretty solid in that, you can lift the other person up. But until you can like realize that that's even happening, sometimes it's just like, well, he's always cranky and I want to feel good. And this is, you know what I mean? And it's really easy to like beat yourself up over like doing that. I know you're not doing it now. I'm sure you forget all that stuff, but I'm just saying, like, it's an interesting thing with relationships, because we both kind of have this thing. I'm saying both parties in the relationship kind of have an expectation that the other person is a little bit responsible for your emotional status. And if they would only change, then you could feel better.
Yeah, no, I get that, but you see,
And it doesn't, it
you're
doesn't, you know
both,
what I mean? You see how, like, that's why you can't sustain it, because if the expectation is we have so much fun, why can't we just have fun all the time? But, you know, as you know, the rubber meets the road when it's the not having the fun time, and you figure out, like, go to your corners, figure it out. And I'm sorry that it came to her leaving. I mean, obviously, I'm glad for you and Serena, but you know,
oh, sure, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
no
obviously
problem.
everything turns out the way it's supposed to, but I just wanted to point that out, that like, if anybody's young out there and listening and recognizes this conversation, try not to make the other person's emotional state the basis for how you feel, because it's a recipe for disaster, and the relationship is going to have a lot harder of a time. That's all I'm saying.
Um,
Sorry, I derailed
yeah,
you.
no, you didn't. I'll say something about what. Oh man, this show's off the rails already. And
You want to start over?
no, 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 no,
We could just do a pure.
no, no. Damn it! I help people every day. If they can't listen to me for one day, screw it. They can all go away. I don't care.
Listen, they got the most amazing show last week of theatrics on a vegan. So, you know,
Yeah. Um. You know, I was waking up every morning at 4:15. This woman didn't have to go to work. Every now and then she would take a job just to not be bored, right?
that's interesting.
She didn't have to go to work. I was up every morning at 4:15, crept out of the house quietly, and I would train clients all day long, take meetings. When I left the house, sometimes I would have a suitcase because I would have to go from gym clothes to other clothes to take meetings and go back to whatever,
Right.
right? And you know, I would get home at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and put all of that on her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just wasn't fair. Wasn't fair. I didn't see it. I just didn't see it at the time. It was like, well, you get I'm doing all of this for us, right? And
But
she's,
y'all never had that conversation? Like, she never said, like, hey, I've noticed you're really cranky when you come home. Could you not?
yeah,
Did
and I
you?
would go cranky, cranky. I just got yelled out of Guthrie Ranker, and I had a meeting with this asshole over at Gallon Maury, and I had a meeting with that guy. And Andy Schreiber and I worked 3 hours today on this new pitch that I'm doing next week. And
Right.
by the way, I have 5 clients that need to lose 25 pounds between them in the next couple of weeks for some studio. I was doing it all.
Right.
I thought I could do it all. And I was driving myself crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Wow.
And at any rate, I'm going to move ahead. I got a message from her son
Oh,
two
no.
nights ago. He's like, "Hey, give me a call."
Oh,
I was
no.
like, "Oh God, oh God," you know. And he said, "My mom is not doing well. She got COVID, and this happened and that happened and the other thing happened. And she weighs 85 pounds now, which we spoke about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and she wanted to FaceTime when we spoke, and she couldn't hold the phone still. So, and I think she just wanted to make a connection with someone. I think she's very alone,
Yeah.
and, I'm going to try to go and visit. I'm going to try to go and see her in the next couple of days. I got to figure out how to get on a plane and go see her. But all of those songs, I've been remembering all the songs.
Oh, that's why the songs are playing.
Yeah. And the thing that's driving me nuts right now is while you were talking about how you and your husband handle it, I just saw another text from her son, and I can't open it right now. I just can't know right now.
No, you should not open it right now.
No.
And for that reason, I'm glad that you did not sync up your text to your computer, or else you would have seen it already. Remember how I was telling you that last week?
Yeah. No, I don't do any of that stuff. It's way too advanced for me. But it popped up. I saw something pop up, and it was him, and I was like, oh God, please, please, please. I'm in the middle of telling the story, and I can't take any more bad news. But it's a circle.
Hopefully, it's just so y'all can coordinate for you to go down there.
Let me just tell you this. Life is fucking short, right? This woman, unlike me, enjoyed the crap out of her life. She always had a smile on her face. She was always laughing. She would always walk in with a smile. It was the thing that made me happy, was that no matter what, she was smiling about everything all the time. Something I never do. I don't even know how to smile. I didn't even start living my life until after I had cancer. That's when I decided, hey, I better get on my horse and start riding. Screw Guthy-Renker, screw Disney, screw Nickelodeon, screw all these people. I'm going to go make a movie. I'm going to go do my stuff myself, right? None of that happened before cancer. I'm a happier person now because I feel successful. I feel like I'm helping people now.
Right.
People that want to be helped.
You've accomplished stuff, and it feels good.
Yeah. And, Serena is a huge part of that. Right. I found the greatest woman in the world because I had to let that woman go. I found Serena, and she's always the positive one in our group. And so, yeah, look, you can be walking down the street, the healthiest looking person in the world, and then one day a doctor says, you got a clock on your back. You got an expiration date. Start living, folks. Start fucking living right now. Don't wait. Do not wait. It is day 48 of the year. We're recording this on Wednesday, and I'm at 57 hours and 25 minutes of aerobics. I'm only mentioning that because I said, look, I'm going to let you guys know I'm going to stick with my New Year's resolution the whole year. Of course, you would go, oh, Vin, you're way ahead of the game right now. But you know what? 10 days can be eaten up really, really fast. Number one, I don't do aerobics every day. I also like to hit the weights. Sometimes I'll do them both on the same day. Sometimes I don't. On Saturdays, I'm building a kayak all day. I'm on my feet 8 hours building that boat. You can go see that at Vinnie Tortorich YouTube. It's also on my Instagram. So I usually don't want to come home and get on a spinner or something, and Serena's ready to go out and have dinner when I get home. So that's missing days. I may be traveling to go see my friend. Right?
Right.
There's travel days you miss. I can, of course, when I get there, I have running shoes, I have my jump rope, I have everything. I can do everything I want to. There's no excuses when you're on the ground. They frown upon it on an airplane.
I've done many, many lunges on many, many airplanes.
Look, I get up and go walk to the back and, stand there, talk to the, steward or stewardesses or flight attendant, whatever they're calling them this week. Did I just offend people by calling them stewards and stewardesses? How does that work?
I don't know.
Okay.
Flight attendants.
Back in my day, we called them things.
Back in my day, the porter would help you carry a bag onto the airplane.
Airplane.
Onto the Airbus vehicle.
We had donkeys and we were happy. Try to get a steward on a donkey and see it. All right. So anyway.
Who's Stewart?
Stewart. His name was George. Nobody's
George was my steward.
Anyway, wow. I wish my friend left. I need to get
I do
there.
too.
I need to get there, Anna.
And you've not told that story.
So there, guy on.
But it's probably your longest story you've ever told.
Look, it means if it took the whole show, it would have taken the whole show.
Teasing you.
You know, I think.
You know what I just emailed Stephen Capelli, Stephen Crutchfield something. I just said Stephen Capelli.
Well, he is.
Can you take your dead husband's name after not taking his name? You could do that, right?
I think you can do that. Why did you email? Did he not pay us this month?
No, he did.
Okay.
I saw that this company in America was doing these really cool squeeze bottles of olive oil. And I wrote him, I said, I know it's hard to receive emails like this sometimes because people are like, you should do this. And it's like going to take you like 2 years of work to figure out packaging. You know what I mean? But I was literally like, you should do this. And then I said, this is either just delete this and forget I sent it, or it's a genius idea. And he actually really liked the idea. So we were talking about that, but it made me think, we have so many new listeners. They have Villa Capelli olive oil, right?
The new listeners, like the really new listeners?
Yeah. Like, do they understand about Villa Capelli?
I don't think I don't know if they do. Should we explain to them who they are? I think
we should probably do that. Villa Capelli is the best olive oil on the planet. It's made over in Puglia, and it's such good olive oil. They've been longtime friends of mine, longtime sponsors of this podcast, and now friends with Vinnie and Andy. And Vinnie uses Villa Capelli in his vitamin D product. I use it in all of my sauces. And in fact, it's going to be a problem when we scale up, and I'm not going to be able to use it. I'm going to be a little bit bummed about that. It's such good olive oil. Here's the thing. When I first started this podcast with you, I had already talked to Paul when I was over the property. This is long before you and I started podcasting. And Paul said, oh, they're cutting your olive oil over there in the grocery store. And I know Paul to be
right.
He's a consummate pitch man. Right. And so when he said that, I was like, he's just trying to get me to buy his olive oil. Shut up, Paul. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm young and I know my way around a kitchen. You're an old ad guy. And
you're old school. You're
old school.
Yeah.
And so then I heard an interview with the guy who wrote a book literally about the food fraud in the olive oil world. And I was like, holy shit, Paul was right.
We had that guy on the show, right?
Tom Mueller?
Yeah. Didn't we have
I don't think we ever did. No, we had Larry Olmsted who wrote Real Food, Fake Food, which is also he has a chapter
guy that we like.
No, we liked Larry Olmsted. We just haven't had Tom Mueller on, but he wrote a book called Extra Virginity, The Sublime and Scandal of the Olive Oil World. And it was just, I guess olive oil was the original liquid gold because it was considered more valuable than gold or cash.
Can you get my assistant to go after that guy?
Yes, I will get my assistant to go after that guy.
Anna and I share an assistant.
That's how codependent we are. Yes, I will, because I would love to have him on. And by the way, it's 10 years later now after the book came out. So it'll be a nice, maybe it'll be a refresher.
Brand new.
You guys should get that book. It's a really good book. It's in Vinnie's book club.
I'd still bring James Nestor on the Friday show. Some of his books we talk about are 10 years old.
That's great. I love it.
You know, these books are great.
Back when we were all fringe a-holes. Now, I think people are finally realizing that olive oil is actually really important and that it shouldn't be cut.
Yeah.
Everyone except the FDA has realized this because the FDA
Yeah.
turns the other way and they don't care that the olive oil is cut with cheaper oils. And by the way, you think that I am exaggerating, new listeners? I am not exaggerating. Those grocery store shelf olive oils, the ones that aren't the nice ones, I'm talking about the name brand, big ones that you see every day at the grocery store in big jugs, are filled with cheap seed industrial oils, and it's disgusting. So just get Villa Capelli, use the discount code Vinnie, Vinnie. You'll get 10% off your order. Support them. They are sponsors of the show. And besides the fact that it's just absolutely delicious and you won't regret it, but the problem is that it will turn you on to delicious tasting olive oil because you won't have realized how good the taste can be. So get your hands on that.
Anna, you wanted to ask me about too
protein
much fat and
versus
protein.
fat versus protein versus fat.
All right. So you ask the questions and I will answer to the best of my ability.
Let me see if I can set this up in a way because it's a bit swirling in my head.
I'll unswirl it.
Thank you. Deswirlify, please. So years ago, we had a super fan listener who, if I said her name, you would know exactly who I'm talking about, but you might not know off the top of your head.
Okay.
And she wrote to, and she was postmenopausal, and she wrote to me saying she was always frustrated, and she booked sessions with you, and she was always frustrated that NSNG wasn't working for her. And I don't know if she had extra weight to lose or if she lost a little bit. And then I don't know her whole story. I just know that she's postmenopausal female. That's it. And she said she tried the following. She went low fat for a period of time, and then it kicked in her plateau, and then she went back to NSNG. I have not spoken to her in probably 3 or 4 years, so I don't know where she is now. Okay. But that's what stuck in my head is like the first time I had heard something like that. And I, not wanting to dismiss anybody's experience because I know everybody has a different experience, but I'm also know that like, for me, NSNG is like the bare minimum. Like I have to just do NSNG. Like I'm not, but I also know that for me, I'm not saying adding in fat, 'cause I'm not adding in fat, but eating the fattier cuts of meat, things like that help me to do it because it keeps me full, right?
Sure.
Keeps me sated, right? So then a while back, people have started to ask on my Monday Clubhouse that I host, which is it's just a check-in, right? I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. I am a person who loves recipes and has cookbooks and a food company. I know a lot about that stuff, but I host those things for an accountability and also to, so we can all connect. And I love it. And Megan and Leona host theirs on Thursday. And between the Facebook groups and the clubhouses, there's some great ways for you guys to stay accountable and stay motivated and inspired. And so some folks have been saying, and there's some folks, in our community who I know who either are perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, but for the most part, it's women who are saying this. I don't think I've heard a man do this. That doesn't matter. But I'm just saying that like what I've clocked.
Right.
And saying that they're experimenting with lower fat. So things like chicken breast, fish, obviously low glycemic vegetables, steamed, not adding any olive oil or butter. Maybe you marinate something in some olive oil, but you're not like getting the extra, you're not like purposefully eating more fat and eating a high protein diet. And it kickstarting weight loss plateaus. And so and here's why I wanted you to address it, because some people who are new to NSNG, I'm always like, just do NSNG first, because it's enough to just cut out sugars and grains for some people, right? That's like when somebody's like, I'm going to exercise and cut out sugars and grains. I'm not going to do dairy and I'm never going to have alcohol and I'm cutting out nuts. And I'm like, is this your first time? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, great. You're going to fail by day 2.5 because it's too much. Right. And, but I get it because we've all been there. So I just want to talk to you and get your take on it because I don't want it to be confusing for people, but I also know that everybody is different. So if some people can't tolerate dairy, they don't do dairy. Some people can't tolerate nightshades, they don't do nightshades. Is this another situation like that? Not that they're fat intolerant, but I'm just saying, like, is this another customization option? What is it? Tell me.
Okay. Um, you're right. People, the thing I hear all the time is just tell me what to do. And I'll say, okay, but that's going to change. And you go, oh, well, what do you mean? It's not going to keep working? And I hate the word plateau because you're not plateauing.
Right.
We think, oh, I'm on a plateau. I'm not losing weight anymore. So I've actually talked to a few people in the group about this. But I talk to people on the telephone about this all the time. And I think I understand where the problem begins.
Okay.
I'm going to use an example. If someone is 350 pounds, fill in the blank, you might be 275, you might be 450, 500 pounds. These are the type of people I'm mostly talking to.
Okay.
And what I want to do from the get-go, look, the bottom line is some people cut out sugars and grains, they lose weight, right? Other people are metabolically broken just a bit, and some people are metabolically broken as fuck, right? So people are all over the board. So now
can you give an example of the ranges of that?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to get into it.
Great.
So what happens is, let's say you're the guy that's 350, you've gained and lost 100 pounds 5 times in your life. The doctor tells you you have neuropathy, you have type 2 diabetes, your A1Cs are 11, you have fatty liver disease. They're talking about if you don't get your shit together and get on a vegan diet, we're gonna have to cut your toes or your feet, or that guy.
Right.
Okay. That guy, I would tell that guy right away. Well, hell, someone like Jason Fung would say, stop eating altogether. Just fast, and put him on a medical fast, like boom. And I don't do that. I tell people to stop eating any form of carbohydrate whatsoever. If you're in that situation, neuropathy, type 2 diabetes, A1Cs are off the charts, triglycerides are 450, 500, whatever. Stop the insanity. Cut what's causing the problem. Carbohydrates, complex, simple, that's sugar, that's grains. Cut it all out. Well, Vinnie, I can't ever have another vegetable. You've punched your card on everything. Cut it out. Well, what am I supposed to eat? Eat fat, eat protein. Notice I said fat first. Over the course of time, that metabolically broke person will begin to heal. Scott King comes to mind. I use Scott King all the time because I can remember his name. It's one syllable.
It's true.
Scott and King. And he weighed 600 pounds, and now he doesn't. Weighs like 250. He doesn't have neuropathy. He doesn't have type 2 diabetes. He doesn't have fatty liver. All of the problems went away. They all go away. Guys running triathlons now. We don't even talk about his diet. We talk about bikes. Right?
Right.
That guy fixed himself by cutting out carbohydrates altogether. And in its place, you add fats. Let's take a woman who might be 225, 250, something like that.
Okay.
The doctor is inexplicably still calling this person healthy because doctors don't, they want people to keep coming back. And they'll say to someone like that, oh, yeah, you need to lose some weight and your cholesterol's a little high. We'll give you a statin and your blood sugar's off the chart. So we'll give you some metformin. See, these are the people doctors like. They're not Scott King. They're not completely metabolically broken. Doctors telling them you're the picture of health. And they know that's a lie, right? They're on metformin. They're on, this, that, and the other thing. They're on 5, 6, 7 drugs, right? All not fixing the problem, keeping it in a controlled area so that these drug companies can keep making money. Mm-hmm. Well, when Vinnie comes in, I tell these people, just like I told you, Anna, and you were never that heavy, just cut out sugars and, go read my PDF. Cut it all out for a month. Let your body relax into it. Let your triglycerides come down from 250, 300. Let your triglycerides get below 100. Give your liver a break. And you'll say, well, Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm working without a net. What can I eat? Eat all the fat and protein that you want. That's fine, right? And those people think I'm some kind of magic man. It's like, oh my God, first week I lost 20 pounds. Well, that's a lot of water weight. Second week I lost 4 pounds. Third week I lost 4 pounds. Fourth week, 3 pounds. They're losing weight. They're feeling good. But at some point, they're going, I can eat whatever I want. I can eat all the coconut oil. I can have all of the this. I can have all of the that. I can eat and eat and eat. And at some point they'll go, wait a minute. I'm still got weight to lose, but I ain't losing it anymore. What should I do? Well, what happens is once your body corrects itself, right? Once your body is running the way it's supposed to run, you don't need as many fats. You don't need as many calories. And you've been so used to, hey, Vinnie said I can eat whatever I want as long as it's not a sugar or grain or it doesn't come in a package. There's no seed oils. Vinnie says I can have whatever I want. Now you're not gaining weight. Every time I interview these people, I say, are you gaining weight? Every now and then I say, 3 to 5 pounds. Most people will say, I'm bouncing on the same number every second or third day. And the reason being is the fat that they're taking in is the fat they're using. That's the fat that's creating ketone bodies. That's the fat that's keeping them metabolically flexible. Their body is continuing to store the other subcutaneous fat because they're using the fat, right? They're using the fat that they're taking in to burn, right? So in that case, all you have to do, you don't have to go crazy, but people like to add terms to stuff. You know, I got to put a term on it. So I'm going high protein. You know, I got to bolus my protein. These weird terms people
What's
like.
that? Bolus?
Yeah, you know how
Bolus?
you can bolus a shot or whatever. Like these
No.
bodybuilders,
I don't know what that means.
these bro science guys, like
Oh.
bolus means to prepare it ahead of time. Like people who have to take shots for diabetes, it's called bolusing a shot. You
Okay.
get it ready in case you need it. You just squirt it in.
Okay.
So you say, I need this much protein, and this guy says this much protein, and that guy says that much. And then they'll just start going really high on protein. It'll work for a long time, just like high fat was working, until your body goes, wait a minute, now there's too much protein there, too much gluconeogenesis happens, and now you're creating this weird kind of, diet mentality that you were in before.
Right.
So I always caution people, when you notice that you're not losing weight anymore, and I do this on the phone calls with them all the time, I don't tell them to cut fat out. I don't tell them only lean chicken, only lean fish, breast only, no oils. No, I'll just tell them, knock it down a notch. Just bring it down a bit, and you'll notice that you'll start losing weight. You're bringing more protein to the surface. You can still eat all
bring the fat down a notch.
Bring the fat down a notch,
okay,
which will allow the protein, you're taking in less fat calories. Your body will have to start using some of your fat on your body versus, it just makes sense, right?
Okay.
You're still this furnace that will burn up anything because you've created this furnace. Just dial it down a bit. And I know what people want to think, and boy, don't make this mistake. Please don't make this mistake. Oh, well, Vinnie says if I dial it down a bit, I'll start losing fat. Vinnie may not know what's best for me. I can dial it down 2 or 3 notches, really bring it down, lose the fat really fast. No, now you're bringing too much protein into it. And when you have too much protein, you can end up with the same problem, right? So you have to be careful. It's a touchy-feely thing. If you're eating too much fat, dial it back. It works like a charm. Question.
Would you say this is for men and women, or just mostly you've seen it with women?
See it with both. I see it more with women. I see it more with menopausal women. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't write a graph, but if I get a woman on the phone and she says, hi, I'm blah, 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 blah. I'm 53, fill in the blank. I'm 54, fill in the blank. I'm 52, I'm 56. oh boy, here we go. Right. I know where the conversation is headed because I've been doing these phone calls for about 8 years, and that's exactly where the conversation goes.
And so what do you tell them? What you just said?
Exactly what I just said. You know, because the thing they will do is crack it back too much. And then you end up with a different problem.
Well, yeah, because you get back into diet mentality.
Not only that, you have too much protein, and too much protein will turn into sugar. Our bodies will turn it into glucose.
And then you have no choice but just to eat ice cream.
Yeah,
You
pretty
have
much.
no choice, Vinny.
Well, Haagen-Dazs. What is it? Jerry and Ben and Jerry's.
Jerry.
Yeah, you can tell how much I buy ice cream. I don't Jerry and Ben's, with the ice cream. Yeah, it's touchy feely, but don't give up. That's the key here. Don't give up on what you're doing. Right. The other thing people get into is this diet mentality with, they go, well, protein. Okay. Which powder should I take? None. Get it from whole animal proteins. Get it from eggs. Get it from,
not even like the bovine collagen.
You could take bovine collagen if you want to. I mean, I supplement with Knox gelatin, which is the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But you don't want to sit there just taking in people. Should I get the whey protein or the egg white protein, or I take this stuff by this company? Don't use bastardized proteins. Get real protein from fish, from chicken, from red meat, from pork, from eggs. Get the real stuff. It makes a difference. Get a good animal protein. It's the way you want to eat. Questions?
I don't think so. It's good for me to hear too, because, I like to hear everybody's experiences and hear what they're doing to tweak on stuff. I think it's interesting. I think that what NSNG does is makes people have, number one, the good foundation, the good baseline to work from,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
And then it really does make you feel so much better that you're willing to take different experiments and try different things to see what works for your body. People are willing to start exercising when they never wanted to do that before. People are willing to try different things. And I think that's part of not only cleaning up your metabolic health, but it cleans up your brain too. Your brain gets clear and you want to actually do things and problem solve stuff that you might not have thought about before. So it's all good. I just wanted to get your take on everything because there's a lot of talk about it.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It does, when people go, Vinny will be upset. We're not. No, I'm trying to get people healthy.
No, that's why I wanted to talk about it on the Monday show.
Yeah.
So that people didn't think like we were somehow trying to avoid it, or there's some secret solution that like Vinny won't talk about that
There
y'all don't have
is
access to, or something like that.
There's
Like,
no secret. Look, I've been around this world for a long time. I'm not hoarding any secrets that I just hand out on phone calls. I just tell people this is how it works. And by the way, if someone ups their protein and they start losing weight, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
yeah.
Right. So there you have it. Folks, I'm in a bad way, so I'm not going to keep
I'm
this.
sorry you're in a bad way.
Well, I wish I had some of that.
I wish you had the jar of this.
I would drink.
Oh, I
that
wasn't
right
supposed
now.
to hold that over the computer. So I'll have to hold it back here.
And
Warren forbade me to bring any sort of anything by the computer, but I had to film a video. I'm trying to film a video to win a booth at Expo West. I know you guys are going to be at Expo West.
Yeah.
And so I filmed a video to submit to a contest to try to win a booth to go to Expo West. And so that's why it's open. And I figured I would it smells so good.
I know. I want a straw in there right now.
Well, I did a straw, but it was too chunky. So I would just drink it out of the.
Anna's actually drinking her marinara right from the jar. I may or may not have an erection right now. Or watching an Italian girl just drink marinara. There's just something really special about it. I should have Marie on the phone right now. She would not know what to do with herself. So Anna, by drinking that, you can end up on getting a booth.
No, I don't know. I was just trying to be funny. I'm sure I won't. I don't win shit like that. But I still had to throw my hat in the ring. But you know what we're doing, Vinny? This marinara, we're
Yeah.
doing spicy. That's coming out very soon. And the
And
spices are also coming out very
just
soon.
send me some and I'll send you the money with the Google
Right.
thing. Just
You
send
know
me
I
some.
will. I'll do the thing that you're doing with the hats, which is are you done pre-ordering hats, by the way? Have you
Yeah.
called it already?
The hat pre-order is done.
It's
Uh,
settled. You can't get another one.
well, what we did was when we put them in, it was several hundred more hats. There was like 48 to get to the next 100 level.
Right.
And I said, get those 48. And, so that's it. Right. So if you
Okay.
ordered your hat on pre-order, we have now ordered them. They're being made right now.
And then you ordered a few extra.
And yeah, just to get to the next number.
The slackers.
Yeah, there was, I don't know if it was 48 or 38 that got it to the next 100.
Okay.
And I said, because I'm going to sweat. I sweat in them. I wear them all day long. I have 3 of them here. One doesn't fit because I got the small medium and I wear the medium large. So I only have 2 for myself. I'm going to take another 2 of those for myself. And
Right.
so
And
whatever's
then
left,
sell the rest.
we'll just have them up there. But and look, folks, if you want them, this is not some kind of scarcity heuristic thing I'm doing here. I'm done with these after this. We might do a different design or something, but this is it.
Yeah.
So if
Well,
you
that's what I'm
really
going to do with the
want-
spicy marinara too.
Yeah.
You have to pre-order. It just makes more sense and it helps to pay for the manufacturing.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys pre-ordering stuff.
Other thing people realize, I'm making a couple of bucks now on these hats on the second order.
Right.
I'm not charging more. It's just that the setup cost and everything from that
Right.
first order that sold out right away. So I'm making a couple of bucks, which is great because I get to put it into this podcast.
Right.
Right. So that's the idea behind that. Any which way I can get extra money to put into the podcast where it's not coming out of my pocket. Folks, go check out everything Anna Vocino is doing. She's over there drinking her marinara.
You can too. Just go to eathappykitchen.com and order some
That's
sauce
dirty.
and you can drink it right out the jar.
Yeah, go check it out. Go to annavocino.com or eathappykitchen.com. Go anywhere Anna Vocino is and check her out. She also has 2 cookbooks you could get on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to vinnietortorich.com, click through the banner. It puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track, and you can order Eat Happy, the cookbook,
That's
and
right.
Eat Happy 2, the cookbook. And as a matter of fact, since I'm talking about this right now, tell my assistant to put it at the top of my Amazon thing so that people can see your books. And tell her, don't text me. And I've already said it. Megan, go do it. Don't text me.
Oh boy.
Okay. Let me turn this off. Right.
I'm sorry about your friend.